Aristida, go ahead and
Yep.
roll that and hit the lights if you would.
We're gonna keep the lights on. It's better
you
for
are?
the video.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Wonderful. So I don't look like a shadow figure? Okay, very good. So what a lot of people don't understand in this business is the comp, but even the most basic ways the comp works, how you get paid, etc., right? Okay, because if you understood the comp, nobody in their right mind would ever quit Primerica. They would never do it. Once you really get a full grasp of what this business is, right? And most people are driving this Ferrari in first gear, right? 7 miles an hour down the street, making all sorts of noise and waking up the neighbors, right? Okay, but not getting anywhere. And this is a Ferrari that's meant to be driven fast, not to be driven slowly, right? So I'm gonna help you understand this. So the first thing that you need to understand is how the compensation actually works from a company standpoint. Primerica pays out 190% to the field. What does that mean? Okay, so if you look at this here, hopefully, how do I get out of this note version? I'm trying to make it bigger here. Hold on, y'all. I'm going to exit out. Viewing selection, single page. There we go. All right. So if you can look at this at the bottom, I don't know why it's not working now all of a sudden. There we go. Okay. But what is this 190 of? It's a percentage of a first year's premium on a life insurance policy, right? So stop and think about that. 190% of 1 year's premium is virtually what?
2 times.
2 years premium. So all life insurers lose money for 2 years to obtain business. That's the cost of doing business in the life insurance world, whether it's Primerica, State Farm, New York Life. That's their cost of acquisition. Okay, there's always a cost to do business, right? If you're a mortgage company and you're spending money to get leads and you're spending money for infrastructure and all that, and then you bring in a commission, part of that commission was used to cover those acquisition costs. You understand that? Mm-hmm. And this business works the exact same way. Sometimes people will be like, how do you pay out 190%? Well, it's 2 years, right? It's easier to look at it that way than to say 95% of 2 years. Right, okay? So here's how this works. I'm going to go ahead and scoot over to the next slide here, hopefully. There we go. Okay, so most companies take 200% of the first year's premium or 2 years' premiums and they split it. About 100% or 1 year's premium goes to the sales infrastructure, their agents, right? Okay, and the other 100% goes to advertising costs, administrative overhead, that sort of deal. That's a pretty standard mix in the insurance industry, right? Most insurance companies have 3 levels of compensation. Okay, a sales agent, a general agent, and a regional manager. Okay, so that 100% that goes to the sales, the first year's premium, is generally split 3 ways. Okay, all life insurers work in this way. Okay, you all get that? Right? Okay, so think about Primerica. Right? What don't we have? Advertising. We're the advertising. What else don't we have? A lot of overhead infrastructure. Right? Okay? This is not Primerica's office. This is my office. Right? They allow the independent contractors to go get offices as they choose. The corporation has no part in that. Therefore, that 100% or 1 year's premium that these other companies are paying to an antiquated model of shotgun advertising, big, massive infrastructures, fancy buildings, right? You go down to every major city, you look at the biggest, tallest, nicest looking buildings in the downtowns, and what do they have on them? Life insurance names and banks. Who's paying for that? The consumer is, and the sales structure. So stop and think about this, right? Sometimes you'll meet people like, I wish I had leads. If you had leads, you're an order taker. Right? You understand that?
Yeah.
And so, therefore, that company is not going to pay you as much money as somebody who's not getting leads. Because if they're not getting leads, they don't have to outgo. So stop and think about this. If you're good at this business, you don't need leads. Why? Warm market, referrals, recruiting people. Our infrastructure is a warm market business. You do a good job for people, you do the right thing, you treat them well, they're going to send you to people. You're going to recruit and open markets in this way. So a huge piece of that comp that all other companies on planet Earth, 100% of them, spend in acquiring business, they can pay that to who in Primerica?
Us.
Us. They can pay us to generate the business. So here's the deal. Primerica is the best place to be mathematically of any financial services company on planet Earth when it comes to the amount of money that they're going to pay out for a transaction. Bar none. Why? Because of what I just told you. It's not mathematically feasible for any other company to match our comp payouts because they don't have our model. The model is what allows us to have a 190% payout to the field and a 10% retainer for infrastructure costs versus a 100% retainer for infrastructure costs. You understand that?
Yep.
Okay? So here's the deal. If you're motivated, if you're willing to learn your skills, you're willing to work, Primerica is the best opportunity on planet Earth. If you're lazy, if you just want to take orders, Primerica is the worst opportunity on planet Earth, right? Okay? Because you're not going to get anything. Think about advertising. Advertising is socialism of capitalism. What do I mean by that? Right? So think about State Farm, for example. Like a good neighbor.
State Farm.
Right. And they pay big bucks out to make you know that. And people call State Farm offices all the time looking for quotes. They're not out and about looking for people. People are coming to them. In exchange for that, they're giving up half of the commission. Straight up half. Right? They make a sale, they're making at a maximum half of what you would make on a sale. Therefore, right, the high performers there are being burdened so that the low performers can eat. Do you understand that? Right? Even a blind squirrel finds a nut. And with an advertising model, the nuts are calling, right? And the blind squirrel just answers the phone and he gets a little bit, right? Okay? In Primerica, that's not how it works, right? You're the advertising, you're the business model, you're the revenue generator, right? There's two sorts of people on planet Earth. Work creators and work processors. Okay? Which one do you think gets paid more? In any field. Work creators, right? Not work processors. Work processors are needed so the work creators can keep going out and creating more and more work, right? Okay? So again, this is an opportunity for work creators to be paid at industry high levels. Nobody, because of their infrastructure, has any ability to compete with us in this way. Y'all understand that?
Yeah.
Sometimes people say, how come nobody else has copied this? This is why. It's physically impossible, right? This shouldn't have worked in the way that it did. It should have gone out of business 5 or 10 times in the early years, and it miraculously made it through, and nobody has the capital, right? You understand they pay you on advance. You turn in an application tonight with a 1 month's check for $100, right? Or let's call it $85, $1,000. What's the company paying out tonight? $1,900 against that one check for $85. You know how capital intensive that business is? Right? They would need billions of outflow capital before they ever collected a cent against the billions they paid out, let alone profit. Right? You understand this? This is a very, very special business model that nobody else has the power to duplicate. It cannot happen. How many of you get solicited by other companies right after you get your license? Any of you get those nice calls or emails? Right? We want you to come work with us. And they try to entice you with these higher contracts, right? There's no such thing. No such thing. And when you understand the override and where that 190 goes, you'll understand very clearly if you want to build a team and you want to be a work creator, there's no other opportunity besides Primerica on planet Earth in the financial services that you should even consider because the math is against you somewhere else. Y'all understand? Very good. So let's go ahead. So here's how this works. Primerica pays, right, 190% out to the sales structure, 10% for overhead, administrative costs, etc., all the things that have to do with us underwriting new business. If you're a salesperson, that sounds better than 100% going, yep. Right? If you got to split a fixed amount of money, we want to split the biggest amount of money possible. Right? You get that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it works. So here's how a base shop works. Right? The term base shop talks about an RVP and everybody under that RVP that is not an RVP. Y'all understand that? Okay? So let's take a look here. I'm going to make this bigger if I can there. Right? So an RVP contract is 110%. So if you look at the total base shop payout is what? 110%. If the RVP makes the sale, 100% of that base shop payout, all of that money is going where?
To him.
To the RVP. So let's say a senior regional leader makes a sale, they're making what?
80%.
80%, so the RVP would be making
30.
for a total of,
110.
in a base shop, there's 110 points going out to that base shop, regardless of how it's sold. The RVP sells it direct, all of it's going to the RVP. It gets sold by the bottom guy, and there's somebody at every level. He's getting 25, this guy's getting what?
10.
10. He's getting the spread. This guy's getting what? 15. This guy's getting 10, 10, 10, 30. For a total of
110.
110. 110 is being paid out to the base shop no matter what. You understand that?
Yep.
Okay? It's very important that you understand this terminology and how this works. If you have questions, stop and ask. Can you all see back there or no? All right, I'm going to kind of shift this a
You
little
can
bit.
do that.
Okay, is that okay? Because you can still see, right? Okay. So, any questions on the base shop payout? So, base shop payout is 110, right? Okay. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Then there are bonuses. So that is the baseline commission of a base shop. Okay. Then there is a bonus payable to who? An RVP. Sometimes the company does these little additional bonuses to you guys are 5%. It's cute, right? Okay. But as an RVP, you can earn a 20% base shop bonus. So how do you do it? 20 recruits, 20,000 in sales in your base shop gets you qualified for that 20% bonus. So your contract as an RVP was what?
110.
110 plus a 20% bonus is what?
130.
130. So if you make the sale yourself, you're getting 130. If a guy under you at 80 makes a sale, you're getting your spread of 30 plus the 20% bonus, which is what? 50. So if you're building a decent base shop, the minimum spread you would ever get as an RVP is what?
50%.
Right? The highest guy under you was writing all the business, the spread would be 50. So on a $1,000 sale, you're getting paid what? 500 minimum.
That's not bad.
So if you build a base shop that does 100 sales a month, what are you making?
Say that again?
If you build a base shop doing 100 sales a month, and the minimum you're getting is $500, what are you making? 50,000 a month to build a base shop that does what? 100 sales a month. Now stop and think about this, right? This is how Primerica was designed. Primerica was built for RVPs to become financially independent. Not for you all that are not RVPs to become financially independent. It's built for you all to make some money, right? Easier than a job, okay, and to have an opportunity to become an RVP. So think about it like this. Let's say you were 100 people wide. They were all at 80%. They all made one average sale this month. The average sale is $1,000. Okay, but they just made one each. So there was 100 of them direct to you. They each made one sale. Your highest paid guy made what this month? 800 bucks. 80% of $1,000. You made 50 grand. You understand that? Your highest paid guy under you made $800 because he made one sale, right? In that example, but you made 50 grand because you had 100 of them. Okay? The business is built for RVPs to become financially independent and to override, right? So let's say you're at 80%. So you're the highest guy in the base shop, right? You're making personal sales, you're making okay money, you're making 80%. But let's say you got a guy under you like Aristida who's at 70. What's your spread? 10%. That's not a big spread, right? You do 100,000 in sales, what are you getting? 10 grand. You're the RVP, you're getting 50 grand. That's a big difference for the same amount of work, right? So you need to be a what? Fast, right? Fast, okay? So the total base shop payout, if you're worth your salt as an RVP, is actually what? 130. You understand that? 110% in what are called points, right? Straight commission, and 20% paid out as a bonus.
Now it said 3 months of doing 20 by 20.
Yeah, you gotta average it.
So does it not take place until after
Correct.
3 months?
You gotta have, well,
The RVP,
or let's say you did a 60 by 60 this month.
Oh, okay.
That would be enough to average that over 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you're running
Yeah.
on.
So a lot of the bonuses, they make you run it over a period of time, right? Because what they found out is if you were close to the bonus, you would start writing all sorts of crazy business to get the bonus, right? So they're going to make sure that it's a sustainable business practice before they start paying you all that extra cash. Y'all get that? Okay. So right? This is what I was just explaining to you, right? So in RVP, right, they're at 130%, okay? 110 is the base contract, 20% is the bonus, right? If you have a senior regional leader at 80%, the minimum spread is always 50. Minimum spread's always 50. So you all understand that, right? Okay. So watch this, and this is what I was just talking about there. Average sales $1,000 a year. You have 100K base coming from 100 reps. You're making 50,000 a month. Your reps could be making as little as 800 bucks, depending on how the production was stacked, right? Okay. So let's talk about the RVP opportunity. The RVP opportunity, in my opinion, is a $150,000 a year opportunity minimum, right? Okay. So if you're an RVP doing 10 by 10,000, 10 by 10, this should pay you $100,000 a year. So if you're an RVP, you're not making $100,000 a year, there's a problem. Because what did you have to do to get to RVP?
10 by 10.
10 by 10. So if you, what did Joe Ward talk about on Saturday? Stealing your promotions.
Right.
If you stole an RVP promotion by running up your numbers and then ratcheting it back down, right, then they're going to steal back the money that they should be paying you as an RVP, right? Because an RVP who's doing the bare minimum that it took to become an RVP is a $100,000 a year position. And here's the example. This is straight from the company. This is not my example, right? Okay. So say you're doing a 10K base. Is that enough to have the bonus? No. So you're not bonusing, right? So you're at 110 and you're overriding a division who's at 60. Your spread is what?
50.
50. So you got one division team doing 2,500, right? And you got a district team doing 2,500. So your spread is what?
60.
60. And you write 5K yourself, right? That's what? 100 grand. 5K yourself off your pen. You have two guys doing 2,500. It's gonna pay you 100 grand a year as an RVP.
Sucks.
That's nothing. You have two people doing a little bit, and you're doing a little bit. That's $100,000 a year income. Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. I promise you, make 100 grand at a job, you got to do a heck of a lot more than get two people to fog a mirror, right? Okay, to make 100 grand. So
She's shaking her head here, bro.
here's the $200,000 a year RVP, right? Okay. So you're an RVP with a what? A 20K base, which makes you bonusable.
Yep.
So your spreads are now larger, right? And this shows you having one RVP doing 10K, right, in the base. So here's your base shop, right? So you got, remember the regional spread is bigger now, right? Because you're getting a bonus. So you got regionals and districts, right? Okay. Regionals, divisions, and districts. They're showing you all three of them, right? But again, 5 grand, 10 grand, so 15 grand coming in your base, 5, you're doing it, and you got one RVP doing 10 grand, right? That's a $200,000 a year income. 200 grand to have an RVP doing the minimums and a couple of guys that have little teams doing a little bit, okay? Crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. So let's go ahead and keep looking at this stuff, okay? So let's talk about bonuses and how they work and overrides, okay? So why should you become an SVP or a national sales director or an SNSD? These are just regional vice presidents that have more regional vice presidents. But what happens is they unlock a bunch of bonuses, okay? So if you're an RVP doing a $10,000 base shop, they'll give you a 10% bonus. You get it to 20, they're giving you what? 20, okay? You qualify as a senior vice president, which is 50 grand production through first generation. You have 3 first generation RVPs in a base, right? You're getting what? 17%, right? If you're an NSD qualified, goes up to 21, okay? You're an SNSD, your bonus is 23%. So run the math. What's 23% of 250 grand? About 60,000 a month in bonuses.
This is on top of.
Is that on top of the 20% RVP bonus?
Yeah, that's on top of the 20% bonus as a VP. This is payable on your hierarchy, not on your base shop.
Quick question. SVP, these three have to be direct to you, right?
Correct.
They cannot be.
Cannot be down. Yeah. So 3 directs. Okay. So here's the deal, right? If you become an SVP and you bump this to 75,000, you qualify for another 7.5%. So your bonuses actually go 24.5, 28, 30.5. So what's 30.5% of 250 grand? It's a lot. It's like $75,000 a month in bonuses. It's not commission, that's bonuses, right? So they show some numbers here. I'll go back, right? Because a first generation, I'll show this in a second. An RVP at first generation, they pay you an override of what? 15% plus the bonuses. So if you're a senior national sales director, you're doing $250,000 a month of production. What's that first generation RVP paying you? 45%.
Crazy.
So if you're doing $300,000 a month, let's say, at first generation, you're getting 45% of that in bonuses and overrides. That's what? Like $136,000 a month. A month, right? Chris Koob making $1.8 million. That's what his business looks like. He's a senior national sales director. Does about $300,000 a month. At first generation, pays him $140,000, $150,000 a month, right? It seems like crazy numbers. It's really not that crazy, you all. It's a couple of hundred people that you didn't even get, right? Okay, raise your hand if I found you direct.
3.
2, right? 1, 2. So 2 of you in this room, I had anything to do with recruiting, right? Well, I helped Greg recruit you, but he took me to you, right? It's hundreds of people you didn't even find that make a few sales, right? And you make $150,000 a month doing this, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and keep going. So let me explain to you what you just saw there. So remember, an RVP and the people under the RVP that are not RVPs are called a base shop, right? Remember, there's an 80%, a 70%, all those contracts. RVPs at 130 if you're bonusing. So it's a base shop. The minimum spread again is what? 50. Okay. If you have an RVP underneath you, that RVP has the same 130 contract. And he has the same 80, 70, 60 underneath him. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So watch this, right? Remember, the minimum spread if you were an SNSD was what? 45.5%. So let me make sure you understand this. If the RVP himself makes the sale, or the lowest guy in that RVP's organization makes the sale, does it change your spread?
Nope.
No.
No. It doesn't matter who writes it in that base shop, right? Because they're paying out the base shop points here, and they're paying out the first generation points to the upline RVP. You understand that? So if I have an RVP and he makes a sale, great. If the lowest guy on his team makes a sale, great. It affected me 0. Affects you 0. It doesn't matter who sells, you're getting a fixed percentage off an RVP office that's direct to you. You understand that? Or any questions on that? Okay, very good. So why do you want RVPs? Well, the RVP is going to manage this whole pile of crap here, right? And you're getting the same regardless.
Right.
Here, that's not the case. In a base, you could get more, right? Let's say I got a guy at 50 who's direct to me, and I'm at 130. My spread is bigger, but if he's direct to me, I'm the one that's doing the work. So I get more because I'm doing more, but I have to manage it, right? Base shops, there's a lot of money in, but not a lot of freedom in.
Right.
Because you're the guy or gal stirring up the pot, so to speak. You understand that? Once you get an RVP, somebody that can stir their own pot, you're getting the same fixed amount whether they're selling or it's the bottom guy. Right? You have little to nothing to do with it, but it keeps paying you. You understand? Okay.
But you're still managing your.
In this case, right, I still have a base shop, right? Because that's where more RVPs come from. But like Chris Koob, the guy who spoke, right, at Super Saturday, he hadn't had a base shop for 8 years. This was gone, 0. He just had a bunch of these, right? So you don't need to keep a base shop. Once you got enough RVPs that you're satisfied with the income that those offices are generating for you, you don't have to have a base anymore. Right? The company will let you, right? Once you're an SNSD, if you're doing your numbers, $250 a month, you don't have to have a base shop, and they'll pay you all your bonuses.
So where do your recruits go?
What do you mean? If you shut down your base shop, they generally get promoted out and put under people that they promoted out. So say I got five real strong legs in my base shop right now, I just promote them out, and anybody that wasn't in those legs would get filtered to those legs. Okay. So they just go to first generation, I'd be done. So, all right, you all deal with them.
Is basically just retirement.
Say what?
So getting rid of your base shop.
Well, if you shut down your base shop, you're retired.
No, you just pass it off to another guy at your base shop.
So
Correct. And like I have a base shop and I go away for 4 months of the year. So it's not like it's a bad life, right? Running a base shop, because I have great leaders in the base shop that will run it.
benefit you more anyway.
It benefits me more to have it because I get more than I would if they were at first generation. You understand? So you should really never shut down your base until you're like filthy rich, right? Once you're filthy rich and you don't want to burden yourself with a few hours a week of coming to meetings and high-fiving your people, okay, then you shut it down and it's your call.
Do you have another base camp, like when you go wherever you go for 3 months?
I could, but I don't.
That's just your time.
Yeah, I don't work while I'm down there.
Hell, you
call filthy rich?
Huh?
What do you consider filthy rich?
That's going to be different for everybody.
Yep.
Depends on what you want.
What you define as your filthiness.
Yeah, I mean, like so listen, right? So Assad, he still has a little base shop. It's a lot smaller than it was when I was coming through it, right? Because he's made a lot of money for a long time. His upline has no base shop. He makes $24,000 a month, overriding RVPs, and he's happy with that, and he doesn't want to build a base shop, and he doesn't have to, right?
Yep.
So I wouldn't consider him to be filthy rich, but I'm sure he has many millions of dollars saved, like probably 4 to 7-ish, from what I can make sense of the math and how long he's been making money. He's $4 to $7 million. He has $23,000 a month recurring income. By most people's standards, you're going to be fine.
And if you're Coop, you want to start again. So,
Correct. Okay. So let's go here, hopefully. Dang. Single page. There we go. All right. So senior vice president. In the comp, this is a big deal. Once you hit $300,000 a year of annual earnings, okay, you own that business. Below that, you own nothing, because there's nothing to own. It's probably your base shop, which is being run by who? You. So if you go away, what's going to happen to the income out of that thing? It's going to plummet, because you're the leader, right? These guys are not necessarily totally independent leaders running their own offices yet, right? Okay. So at 300,000, they pretty much say that's the point where you have something that if you went away, it would continue. Okay? That's a big deal that you get ownership, you all, right? Because without ownership, this is like a really highly paid job that you don't have to show up to work every day to do, right? Once you have ownership, you're free. You can sell it, you can just do whatever you want, right? And you can retire without ownership. But when you die,
it's gone.
that code number goes away and it all rolls up to the next guy. You own it, that code number stays there perpetually and just keeps collecting income regardless if you're alive or not.
Goes to your family.
Goes to your family, or you sell it, or you do whatever. And it can just keep going generation to generation. There are third generation Primericans now, 3 generations that are running off that original code number.
And they don't even really have to do anything.
Oh yeah, they don't have base shops.
They don't even know how to run.
Yeah, a lot of them don't even know what they're doing. But they're just collecting. They're just collecting cash. Yep. And that's the beauty of this business, right? That's why it's crazy for me to see people not pursue this with everything in them. So you're going to go to your job, you die tomorrow, they're not going to keep paying you, man. I'm sorry, you retire, they're not going to keep paying you. But this will keep paying you indefinitely. As long as there's a human being that has retirement accounts, life insurance, or anything else, right, there's going to be money coming to that number. Right? And it renews itself because the structure of recruits keep making what? New sales and getting more recruits who keep making new sales. Okay, this is a cash machine. Some of you heard my talk on the perpetual money machine. That is what this is. That's not a nice saying. It is a perpetual money machine if you set it up correctly. It'll pay you for hundreds of years, right? Hundreds of years. Crazy, right? So look, you're an SVP. So remember, right? You're getting money off your base shop. Okay. So here's his little base shop bonus, right? 20% on whatever he's doing, right? So he's doing 30K in his at first and 20K base. So there's his 20% bonus on 20K. They factor in quality business and everything, right? And then there's his override, right? He's got a 15% override on his first generations plus a little bit of bonus. So that's his spread total on his first. That's a $300,000 a year income, right? So 50 grand a month, 3 RVPs, that's going to pay you $25,000 a month. And you'll own your business. Y'all understand? Okay? Very good. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. Okay. So how do generational overrides work and how far can this go would be the next question. So remember, as a base shop, your minimum override is spread is 50. Out of first generation, it would be the base of 15 plus some bonuses, which got you to 45.5. Y'all understanding that?
Yeah.
Here's the baseline comp through 6 generations of RVPs. So this is an RVP who has 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 an RVP. You collect all the way to the bottom of that deal. Right? You understand that? Now it goes down a lot the further down it goes. Right? But I've been doing this for 9 years. I have a bunch of these guys and I have 2 seconds. I don't have any thirds yet. I probably won't have thirds for 3 or 4 years. And I'll explain to you why that is in a minute and the beauty of our replacement system, okay? That's a big deal, you all, right? So if you stop and think, every RVP contract has 7 contracts inside of it. RVP, and then 80, 70, 60, 50, 35, 25, right? So you have your base shop that has 7, and then 6 more base shops that have 7. So 7 times 7 is 49. You can collect 49 people straight down the line. If there was somebody in every slot in every base shop, the 49th person straight down the line from you does a sale, you're still making money. What happens after that? Can you have more than that? Yes, you can. They just stop paying you because the 190 points ran out. Right? So if one of those guys in there doesn't own, you can't wait for them to do what? Die. So it rolls up.
This is where we get hitman, primary hitman.
Yeah, exactly. But that's good and bad, right? If you're doing good, you don't want them to die, right?
No.
Okay? But if they're not doing anything, if they're retired and just collecting cash, and they're not doing anything, and they got a bunch of people underneath them you're not getting comped on, eventually, if they don't own, that's going to be good for your business. You understand that? Right? Perpetual money forever. Okay? Let's go to the next slide so you can see this here. Okay, so after bonuses, this is how that looks. So I just showed you the base commissions. After bonuses, a first generation RVP is worth what? 44.5%. Whether it's the low guy in his business or himself, it sells, you're still getting a level 44.5. Right? A second generation pays you what?
79.
So that's a big drop, right? A base is a minimum of 50. A first is 44.5, so almost 50, and then a big drop, right? And then 7.5, 2.5, and 0.75% on the smaller ones. So the further down it goes, the less you get. You understand that? Okay. Any questions on this?
Did you have more at the first? Did you have more RVPs at that first level? First generation?
Well, it
Did you have
depends.
more than one?
Oh yeah, you can have unlimited amounts.
More than one?
You can have
On the first-
unlimited
on the
wide
first generation.
anywhere. You can have unlimited thirds, unlimited. You can have an unlimited amount wide. They just can't be more than 6 straight down. So let's say you had 10 first generations, right? Whatever they build, whatever those people build, you're getting comped on that whole thing, as long as it doesn't go down more than 6 straight down in one leg. Okay, does that make sense? Any questions? Oh yeah, 20 years minimum, and I'll explain to you why.
Yeah, so it's an extremely long time before you get to at least like 4th or 5th or 6th.
Correct.
Because like you just said, you have what, 11 direct?
Yeah, I have
first
11.
generation.
Yeah, I have 11 direct in 2 seconds. Right? Because what happens is they go to RVP and it takes them a little while to figure out how to get big enough to promote RVPs. Right? And replacement. Replacement is the secret sauce here that makes Primerica ultra stable. Ultra stable. You can bet your life on this deal. It ain't going away. It's not like these weird multi-level deal of the month, right? You see these guys run from thing to thing to thing, right? Trying to get in at the ground floor. Why are they always doing that? Because they get in at the ground floor, they ride it up, and then it explodes because it's not structured very well, and then they have to go start something else again. That's never going to happen here because the comp structure. This is why this is important to learn, because if you're going to bet your life on this like I did, you need to understand how it works.
You don't want to go away.
Right. You need to understand how it works. So here's how, right, this is some crap. I mean, it's hard to look at this, right? You go on, this is right off POL, you all. Go into compensation and just look at it, okay? This is how you make 750 grand, right? You do about 200,000 a month in production. So you're not even bonusing as a SNSD, right? You're an NSD doing about 200,000, right? Okay, so here's the deal, y'all. Big money is at base and first generation, and then it falls off a cliff, right? You get 3 times less on a second than you do on a first, right? So big money is base and first. Security comes through depth. If you got a guy who's got a guy who's got a guy who's making big money, right? Like think about our upline, Leo. Where's Leo going? Leo's making $23,000 a month doing nothing. He has no base shop. Where's he going to go? He's going, well, he's not leaving. Nobody else is going to pay this guy $23,000 a month to do nothing and show up to work no times.
Nowhere.
Right? Okay. Why? Because he has Assad, Faraj, and me. So depth gives him security. If I was direct to Leo like Assad is, Leo would be making big bucks. But I'm not. He's getting a third off of me what he's getting off Assad, and he's getting even less off of my RVPs, right? But that leg is built. Nobody's going anywhere. Where's Assad going? You think Assad's going to give up $40,000 a month in overrides he makes on me? Where's he going? He's here for life. So depth builds security. Width is where your income comes from. So you need to do both. You want to be real wide so you have a big income, but eventually you need to help those people build down so they lock in place, they don't go anywhere. You understand that?
So you want to build essentially a bunch of successful RVPs.
Yeah, a bunch of first, yeah. So what did R. Williams say? R. Williams said you need 7 to 10 key people, and then you need to help them each get 7 to 10 key people.
Why didn't he?
You never want to get rid of your base because you always want to keep building first generation.
If you were smart and you were trying to max out your compensation, it would be unwise to shut down your base shop. Because what happens? People die, people get divorced and punch their spouse in the face and go to jail and lose their licenses. I mean, weird stuff happens to people. So if you have a finite amount of firsts today and you shut down your base, you're not going to have any more firsts than you have today. They're not coming from anywhere. So chances are you're going to have less. Now anybody under them rolled up to you if they left or got fired or whatever because they lost their licenses, right? But it's always wise that you keep shooting out first generations. Like Coop, right? He's building a base shop again. Why? He wants more first. His original first round of first, they're all retired. They're all making 5, 6, 700,000. They got their hierarchies, right? So they're sucking up that money there, but they're doing 0. So his production keeps going down levels. As these people retire, the production, it gets bigger, but it keeps going further away. So you're getting a lower percent of more volume. But eventually, if it gets too far down, right, your income will start shrinking. It'll always be there, but it won't be what it could be if you kept putting people in at first that were new, right? You understand that? Any questions on that? It's a good question. Okay. So, replacement. Oh, we got 10 minutes. I had to fly through this stuff. Replacement is the best business idea in network marketing that has ever been created. Art Williams was a genius for creating this, which is why Primerica has been so successful, right? Okay, replacement. You give once and you get forever. Okay, you need to learn to love replacement. Okay, so let me explain this to you. So here's your RVP base shop, right? You're at 130. You got guys at what? 80, 70, blah blah blah. We've already seen that. So let's say, take Aristida for example. Aristida starts building a big business. He qualifies to become an RVP, right? So now he comes out of my base shop and promotes to what? RVP. His contract is now 130, just like mine. Okay, right? My spread went from 50 on him to 44.5 on the first. So I'm getting a little less, but I have no responsibility to Aristida. So that works out, right? So Aristida went from 80 to 130, which is a how much percent increase? 50%. 80 to 130. Right? You get that? So Aristida is getting a 50% pay raise on his personal business. But watch this, it's deceptive. It's 50% pay raise on personal. But let's say Aristida was at 80, he was overriding a big leg at 70. His override was what? 10. Now his override, he's still got the guy at 70, but now he's at 130. His spread went to, his override went up 600%. You understand that? So you got a 50% pay raise on what you're doing, but you got a 600% pay raise on overrides. Do you understand that? RVP is not a little more. RVP is boat tons more on overriding people.
As long as he's doing 20 by 20 already.
Well, let's say he's not. He still went from 10% override to 40% override. He got a 400% pay raise. Right?
Don't think like that, Tom.
Bonus as an
Don't
RVP.
think like that.
So
Right.
even though he moves out of the base shop, he still gets paid on his downline,
Correct.
even though that downline is
Because
on you now.
Because this whole deal that was under him
That's
just
mine.
moved to that first generation. He's got his own base shop now, and remember, whether he sells or the guy lowest under him sells, it doesn't affect me. I'm getting 44.5. Okay, so watch this. Okay, you're getting a 50% pay increase on your own personal, and you're getting a 600% pay increase on your override. Maybe more if you're overriding people that are even further down. Right? Big deal. So listen. You get promoted, you're getting massive pay increases. But your RVP's taking a what? A little pay cut. So you are required to leave what's called a replacement leg. Watch the beauty of this. So here's the RVP, right? My base shop. Aristide's at 80, he gets promoted to RVP, he's got his base shop now. Before Aristide gets promoted to RVP, he's got to leave me a replacement leg.
But not an RVP.
Well, he doesn't have an RVP. He just became an RVP himself. But the replacement should be somebody who's about ready to be an RVP.
Okay.
So he leaves that. Let's just say it was half of his business. He got a 50% pay raise and he left 50% behind. He's even.
Yep.
For that minute.
And then everything he builds forward, he's ahead.
Right?
You understand that? So does leaving a replacement hurt you?
No.
No. At worst, you're even. Okay? Right? But watch the power of replacement. Okay?
Each time that happens.
Replacement is what helps you build width at what? At first. So I promote Aristida to RVP. But before Aristida can go to RVP, he leaves me a replacement, he leaves me Rick. Rick should be the next RVP. So I promote Rick to RVP, but before Rick goes to RVP, he leaves me a who should be my, so let's just say it's Jordan, right? But before Jordan goes to RVP, he leaves me a who's Steve, who leaves me a
RVP.
Now watch this.
Your RVP.
That all came from who? From Aristida. If replacement didn't exist, Aristida would be first, Rick would be a second, Jordan would be a third, Steve would be a fourth, and I'd be making peanuts off that dude.
Right.
And it would happen fast.
That's
But
the
in-
perpetual money machine.
But instead, it forces it wide. You took something that would have gone straight down the line and been worth very little in 3 to 5 years, and you forced it wide. So it's all at the highest comp. You understand that? Okay? That's magic. because you give up once and you get forever. Because when, let's say I'm here, I'm the RVP, and this is Aristida. He gave me a replacement, but now he's got a guy ready to promote to RVP. This is Aristida. Aristida's getting all the replacements. So it drives width at every level, which is why it takes a long time to get seconds and thirds and fourths, because it keeps driving it wide. So even if you had a leg that could have done that, it just keeps shooting out. Right? You get that?
Stop it.
It's magical.
So it just takes years to
It takes years to go down.
Yeah.
Years and years and years, but you end up perpetually wide, right? If you want to have 100 grandkids, is it likely you're going to do that with one child?
No.
You have to have 20 kids.
You have to have 20 kids probably to have 100 grandkids, right? So what this does is it perpetuates the multiples. If that leg went straight down, who knows what's going to happen with it? But if it went wide, now I have the opportunity to have gazillions of seconds because I got a bunch of firsts. And those seconds, when they start promoting to third, take what? More replacements. So then third goes super wide. It keeps all the money close for a super long period of time. You understand that? Okay? That's the power of replacement, right? Some people in Primerica, they don't get this. They think leaving a replacement is bad. It's only bad in case you're really stupid, right? Okay? But if you're smart and you understand math, replacement is wonderful. You should leave the biggest replacement you can so you can take the biggest replacements you can.
Duplicate that.
And you duplicate that, and you will have a rock-solid hierarchy. You will have cash to your family for the next hundreds and hundreds of years.
So you want to try to build a big base shop before you go RVP.
Build as big as you can, leave as big of a replacement as you can, and then start pumping out RVPs and taking good replacements.
Right.
You start promoting RVPs and you take bad replacements, what happens?
It dies.
Well, then to get more first, you got to keep finding them. Again, if you had a choice of you sifting through the hay or you and 40 or 50 people sifting through the hay, who's going to find them faster? The group.
Yep.
You understand?
That's what I mean. If you got a small base shop at RVP, you give away one of your big legs, and then you're doing all the work yourself at that.
Correct.
You
Yeah,
wanna-
but
you want to be wise.
mathematically you're okay.
Right.
Yeah, but it would behoove you to be as big as possible. Your goal should be to confuse your RVP as to who your replacement's going to be because you got 3 or 4 really solid legs built. Questions?
The RVP gets to pick the leg.
RVP gets to pick the leg.
What if they don't want to? Wait, the RVP.
The promoting RVP
Right.
picks the leg. Now listen, in our business, we do something very different. I get 3 calls a week on this from leaders around the company, right? We have been very innovative in this. There's 2 purposes for a replacement, okay? When you promote it out and you take the replacement, some of the production, instead of going to first, stays in the base. That's the short range benefit. The long range benefit is that should be the next RVP. What we've done is, let's say you come out like Josh, right? Okay, John, your brother.
Yep.
He's been here for 6 months. There's no way on earth he has a solid replacement. Nobody's been here long enough to build anything.
Yeah, that's what
But
I
he
was
can
talking
produce
about.
like crazy, right? Okay, so I'm going to promote him to RVP, but then I'm taking halfsies, right? Remember that form you guys
Yep.
signed? I get half of your production in the base shop. So he keeps working with you. You're his team, but the company reroutes half of what you're doing to my base shop, right? So I keep some production in my base like I took a replacement, and unlimited into the future, I can go back and take a real replacement. But I can give him some time to build it as an RVP. So he's not building in my base for 3 years till he finds this guy. He's building as an RVP, and I have some time to watch and make sure I get a good replacement. Because I've taken replacements that looked good and then weren't good. So I learned my lesson on that, right? So this process really is a very good process. Sooner or later, the company will adopt that as a standard process, right? But we've done so. Replacement drives width and cash, right? Over time, replacement drives width at deeper levels, right? Okay. So Primerica's stability in your future is basically built off of replacement. You can recruit 2 RVPs here, okay, and make $1 million a year. One you give up as a replacement, and one you can promote and take a
Based on
replacement from and start a chain reaction of replacement promotions. That's all you need is 2. If replacement didn't exist, this would be hopeless for you to get big.
Yep.
You're gonna find 20 RVPs yourself?
Right.
You have to recruit a lot of people, right? But the process of replacement finds the RVPs for you, right? It's magical, you all. It's straight up genius. It's magic. So you need to find 2 RVPs, right? One you give up, one you promote, and you're set. As long as you don't take bad replacements, which is why I've started this process. If I'm not totally sold on a replacement, I'm taking half of everybody. So you're no better off, you're no worse off, and I've got some time to watch. Let's see, is that the end there?
That's 8 o'clock.
Or 8 o'clock? One last question.
Wouldn't that motivate the RVP to pick up their game to get better replacement rather than give up to 50% because they have better potential to do it the way that the company structured it, not the 50% way that you're doing it because you didn't have a good replacement?
It's actually worse, right? Because if I make you wait, let's say Teresa's going to go to RVP. She's running the numbers, but she doesn't have the replacement. So I force you to stay in the base shop till you have it. The problem is you're making 80 instead of 130 the whole time. So you're making way less money over the next 2 years while you're, right? Remember, if I promote you to first, I'm making very little less, right?
Right.
Okay? So I would prefer you make as much as possible if it doesn't hurt me, so that you stay.
And work.
But wouldn't that motivate me to?
I don't know what motivates people. Who knows? You'd think this would be enough to have you run into a brick wall to recruit some people, right? All right, guys, thanks. God bless you all.